gender equality. Throughout high school and even experiences in college, I've realized a lot of differences and mistreatings to people who claim to be a different gender than us. Talking about the LGBTQ community, for instance, I'm going to talk about some pros and cons and flaws and things like that. Things I agree upon and things that I could see being problems in the future for genders, etc. Such as the LGBT community, they don't believe in like labels for your sex, right? So like what you're based off of, your genetic code, they don't believe in you should be based off of that. You should be based off of the sexual things that you believe in your head. Like how you think you were born isn't your biological state. They believe in you can be whatever you choose to be, ideally. Some of the problems I see with that being is just little things that bother me in particular. Like the video I was going to pull up was a debate between, was a debate between the anti-group and a group putting this on in DC, but I can't pull it up right now. But they don't believe in different types of bathrooms and things like that. And me personally, I don't want a female who claims to be a male or a male who claims to be a female in the bathroom with my children. I don't believe that's right. Unless they've had their sexual change, physically, not just mentally, I would be okay with that. But until the change happens, I wouldn't be okay with that. Off that, I've been into the sports category. There is no category for transgenders. It's just open. So if you're a male becoming a female, you would still wrestle the male categories. You would still wrestle, compete against the men. And if you're a female becoming a male, you would still compete against females. So I was doing some research, and I'm big into wrestling, and one of the recent things I found was there was a girl in New York who was taking steroids and dosages, and anybody who works out or lifts knows what these things can do to your body and your mindset, right? It makes you more manly, and she was taking testosterone boosters since her freshman year of high school. I pulled up pictures, won't let me show them, so I apologize. But basically, the New York state law was because she was technically a female, she had to stay in the female category. And she even asked to wrestle the men. So it wasn't a problem on her part, but she wrestled the women's category and it was complete domination. It didn't even look like a problem for her. She looked like a man. And it showed, and I don't believe in that. And I think hopefully in time there will be a category for any transgenders to have their own. But with low funding and schools already doing things like that, I don't see them being able to have that. But if you're going through that much problems and change, I think you should be given an opportunity to wrestle your equals, in my opinion. Okay. Then the standpoint for money in sports for men, females, and anything else, men dominate in almost every category, sports oriented and after college level. Like I was doing a lot of research, and I'm not even big into NASCAR, but like NASCAR, the biggest female NASCAR racer is Danica Patrick, and she is listed even in the top 10 of the richest NASCAR drivers. And from her spot to the next spot was like a $6 million difference, and I just don't think that's fair. She was ranked 7th out of the 10 richest NASCAR drivers, and her compared to the number 1 was a $25 million difference. Off that, we're talking about tennis now. Serena Williams is debatably the best female athlete ever, hands down. It's not debatable, statistically, net worth, etc. She's the greatest athlete female has. And in her 2017 and 2018 year, she made roughly about $18.3 million. Now that sounds like a lot to us, right? But if you're a multimillionaire, her compared to the man whose name is George, I can't pronounce his last name, I'm gonna say Federer, sorry if I butchered that. His net worth between 2017 and 2018, he made $77 million at the same tournaments that she did. Same tournaments, same competition, not even the best athlete. He might be debatably the best male that year, not even the best. Throughout his span of tennis, and he made $77 million compared to her $18 million throughout the same amount of tournaments. I don't see why that's fair in my opinion. I see that being very wrong. Off that, now we're gonna get into NBA. If you look up any NBA player's contract compared to any WNBA player's contract, the funding is super low. So the average NBA player who even can make the G League is about $600,000. The average WNBA player makes about $70,000, and that's if you're an average player. High top WNBA players make about $100,000 to $200,000. $100,000 being odds are the best you can be. But I was looking up and like statistically, I found this. LeBron James' contract to the Lakers was the same value of a whole WNBA team. Think about that and let that sit for a second. That's 15 to 25 girls combined together to be his 1 4-year deal, right? $177 million. Think about that. Compared to their $100,000 salary gap. But with equality, with genders, will come time, and a country based off of old habits and old values, it'll take time for things to change between the society we live in. I'm gonna pause there, because I'm gonna go over 7 minutes. What?
You're leading discussion.
Am I leading discussion?
You are leading a discussion.
I'm leading a discussion. You want me to end it? I'm confused.
You need to make questions for the audience.
My fault, I forgot we had to do that. I got them right here. Okay, sorry, that's my fault. 4 questions that I had. One is, do you think there's a way to make WNBA players get more money or NBA players make less money? Is there a way to balance it out?
There's like no
I'm
possible.
sweating.
There's like no possible way. Just like due to the fact that like not a lot of people watch WNBA. Like even I don't even like watching basketball, but if I turn on basketball, it'd be NBA, not WNBA. Just because it's like not as interesting to me, and like that's coming from a girl who does play basketball at this college. So
Right.
I mean, it's just it doesn't bring in the money.
I think, yeah, and like that's a big point when it comes to like women's sports, because I'm like all for equal pay, like, but when you think about it, like there's just some sports that don't bring in the revenue that the men do. But like when you look at like the women's women's national team for soccer, like they bring in at least 10 times the amount of money as the men's team, because our men's team's crap and they're amazing, and like they get paid like so much less per game. And like I think it matters like how much money they bring in, and they should be compensated for that. Because like Serena Williams is the most famous, I would say the most famous tennis player in the world right now. Because when you think of tennis, you think of Serena Williams, and she's not getting paid as much as Roger Federer is. And that just doesn't make sense, because she's bringing in more money than.
And even with like Serena Williams, even with like not only with her playing tennis, but with like the deal she makes outside of it too. Like if that's her net worth with those like if that's like her year's net worth for like all the deals she has like outside, like with like I don't know, she's like Nike. She's Nike. And she's only making that much. Like that's ridiculous, because I would say she's a household name, and I never even heard of the other guys.
Cristiano Ronaldo was like 80 million, and he signed to Nike too. And he's like 80 million was his deal. Another question I will have. When speaking of transgender, do you think they should have their own category when it comes to sports? So like wrestling, for instance, should they be in the same category, or should they verse what they signed in for?
I think there should probably be something written down about like what procedures should be taken, but there's such a small, really there's a very, very small percentage of people who identify as transgender, so to make an entire category, I just don't think you would have enough athletes to compete,
Right.
you know, but I do think they should have like,
Stipulations?
yeah, like
Okay.
what do you do in the case of someone who wants to compete and they're transgender?
Okay.
I don't think it'd be like logical.
Enough.
Yeah, just
Right.
because there are enough people.
Okay.
I agree with her, there aren't enough transgender people to like have their own group.
Yeah.
But then there are certain things that they have to meet, so like if a girl is like turned into a guy, how do you wanna say it? They can compete as a guy, cause do you remember most of us athletes here, that guest speaker who came and he's a swimmer? He's transgender, and he swam as a guy, and he used to be a girl, so,
It varies from state to state.
well, yeah.
I guess
I don't know.
it's okay with that. Like we had we had a girl on campus, like, she was like gonna try out for the lacrosse team, but like, we were told to address her as a him, but like, she was, so I guess I had like a hard time with like, not that it didn't accept her, but it was that fact that we had to call her a boy, she has to be treated like a boy, but is on the women's team because she's not taking she's not taking men's stuff.
Right.
But like that's the hard part, like I guess for me, that I think like, I'm not against someone that like wants to like change and like that's your choice, and if you want to be a male, that's fine. But I think that kind of puts us like as a disadvantage because like we can't call you a boy and then like act like a boy. You want to treat like a boy, but then you're on a girls' team. I think you're kind of like an unfair line.
It causes friction.
And I think that like, not that I get like they'll think they're gonna struggle in like the other category, but like that's just kind of unfair. You can't really go both ways. I mean, like the speaker, like didn't think he was good enough to be on the men's team, and like that's fine. Like went to the men's team, but I just think that like halfway, like call me a boy, but I'm on the women's team is just kind of unfair. Like if you're gonna be a boy, you need to like, yeah, I guess I would just follow through with that and like.
If you're a boy, you
And
need to be on the
I think it's just hard with sports because it's a unfair line with it.
I'll say, yeah, that's what, yeah, I know you talked about like that girl in New York that was taking men's supplements, then she should compete as a man, or he should compete as a man. because
Right,
that-
but New York State law wouldn't
Yeah,
allow it.
Which
because
doesn't
of
make
course,
sense,
issues
because
with
yeah, like you
female.
said, it's just not fair, like if you wanna be a man, compete as a man,
Right,
you are a man, like
then-
identify completely, I think,
right,
what you're saying.
absolutely.
Well, in our beginning meeting, like for volleyball, when I played volleyball, they talked about like the different like things that you have to take to like be considered a guy or like girl, like in the sports categories, and like you had to like go through like certain rounds of like testosterone to
Yep.
compete as a man, and you have to like go through like a year and a half or like 2 years of like estrogen stuff to compete as a woman. Like there are like different, it's like different like, I don't know, like bars that you have to hit to like compete as either one, but I think like with rowing, women can compete.
I don't think you're allowed to at all, I don't think women's.
Oh, really?
I know like women can, I know for rowing, it's like the girls can go on the men's team, but I don't think, like for rowing at least, I don't think anyone can
Do that.
compete, no, because it's just not fair.
Just real quick, what you guys seem to be suggesting is that some of our rules haven't caught up